Man, do I feel uptight today? So uptight. So, this is my video memoir of what my inner dialogue is telling me at this time today on the fourth day, the observed day in the first week of the initiate lunar cycle. So I'm going to talk about how I use this solar cycle mind map, the 7-day cycle mind map, and the 28-day cycle mind map in my manifesting practice. And what I've done, I've created a Gregorian style calendar that incorporates all of the lunar cycles. So my time, my month begins at the new moon and then it ends by the next new moon. So I have different seasons, and these all play out in this sacred geometry mind map that I do in the base code of the quantum memoir. So this is my chronicle to myself so that I can document these experiments that I plan on doing in 2025 with my husband and some other people. And I've created this daily chronicle page that tracks all of my consumptions and behaviors and inner dialogue, and combines that with the goal setting process of the revolution of time. So today I'm just going to kind of go through my inner dialogue and speak to myself what it is that I'm doing so that I can kind of make some more sense of it and put together this art that I've been creating for the last 7 years in a more cohesive way. So this is like my raw perspective of my experience as of today, January 2nd. See, I don't even Gregorian. Okay, so the theme of this is the Gregorian calendar and how it's a man-made construct, literally probably a men-made construct that confines us in every single aspect of our daily life. Even while my husband and I were living off-grid. I need my drink. My mouth is dry. My chai. So I see what's happening. I'm trying to slow myself down. I'm getting excited because I can kind of see this thought process playing out of what it is that I'm getting at. Ryan and I, we decided to leave our, successful professional lives that we had built over decades and go live in a tiny house, and inevitably ending up like off-grid type of people for, this is about a 7-year span. And at some point, we thought we could escape the matrix, that we could get outside of whatever the false, unnatural mechanism that society has become. And in doing so, we went so far that you could see these two extremes of these two different worlds between the natural world and the man-made world. And it's impossible to separate them in this day and age because you have to have a driver's license. There's things, bank accounts, there's things that you have to do in order to be able to get resources and still engage with people on the outside. And so we have this very clear juxtaposition of observation. And I think that the reason that happened was so that we could have this experience and I could come to this part of my work, that we were able to spend a lot of isolated time. And it just happened to be when this other thing was happening in society, in 2021, where everybody was just kind of going within, literally, and not engaging in the outer world. So while we were doing it for different reasons, it ended up kind of that's just what was happening in society. So what I've been working on over the last year is, as we've come out of the woods, I've been trying to integrate these two different realities and make sense of, what's quote right, or at least the proper experience for me between merging these two different realities and starting to engage with people. So my last two memoir reflections, I was talking about my relationship. Computer keeps going blank. Okay, slow down. Again, this is my self-reflections. I hear that I have an issue with relating to people now that I didn't used to have prior to this whatever exploration that we've been doing since 2018. Wow. So that's a long time. And now here I am coming back to society and I'm trying to make sense of it. And I could see that very clearly there are specific things that are necessary that I did not realize when I was unaware of the bigger picture and unity of life that are very necessary for health, like water, nutrition, movement, nature, sunshine, paying attention to your physical, emotional health, your mental health, that all of these things cannot just be like some of them are taken care of and some of them are not. If something is not equalized, or if you think chakras, and I would think both because it's a Taurus, so it's going both ways, but anyways, if you don't have that coherence, then there's going to be strife in your life. So if you're going to choose to not have the coherence, then you should choose to have the understanding that suffering is just part of life. And so I've been trying to balance these perspectives in a very conscious daily activity and engagement. And I find that it's very difficult that when two human beings get together that are not, like even Ryan and I, if we're on our different worlds in our minds, then the communication, there is lacking communication between them. And so then once you become very aware of that, it's hard to talk to people without doing what I would consider like talking the truth. Like, hey, you're having cognitive dissonance right now. Are you okay? Like without being able to like really say what you're really thinking about the situation, that honest, radical honesty. It feels flat. And I haven't been able to connect with that. So what I'm doing is like, hey, I'm in this predicament, right? I'm in this perception. I love this. This is like my mind. I mentioned that in my last video. I'm in this mental perception of who this character persona is. So I figure I might as well do something with that observation. So I've been doing this quantum memoir manifest, this 365-day cycle for 7 years now. I've been making these mind maps, the art ones and, my time cycles of the revolution, the revolving cyclical nature of reality. And so I've come to the point where now, okay, I need a daily chronicle. So like I'm a little soul in a human biology suit, an earth suit. And I need this thing to last me longer because I have a lot of curiosities about life that I need to play out. And like I said in my last few videos, I'm not going to have peaked in my 30s. So here I am trying to figure out what has this persona had gotten herself into and what can she do with that? And the only thing I can think of is to make art in some way. And I haven't quite figured that out in a way that resonates with other people. But as this book up here is telling me, that doesn't fucking matter. All that matters is that I have an audience of one. And so that is my video memoir, my reflection. That is my audience. I am my target market. I need personally to do this practice so I can make sense of the experiences that I've had since birth, and probably even in the womb. And so today I'm getting started with my compass, and I can see that my theme that I'm working on is time. And yesterday Ryan and I did some studies and I created a mind map. Maybe I should just get that out. Oh, so I started the video where I said I was uptight and tense. And I kind of forgot that I was feeling that way until this moment. Now that I turned off my little channel I was tuning into. Where did I put this? Here it is. Here it is. Okay, so I'm gonna try. So yesterday, Ryan and I did this study where I was doing some research about time and coming up with just random little breadcrumbs of ideas that I came across looking through the etymology and just the Wikipedia as far as I got. And I just took all these little notes and then I mixed them in with some things that Ryan and I have been talking about. And this is how I originally did the quantum memoir when I very first got started. I would take reflections into notes, and then I would put them into this mind map with these 7 seed words. And these all have significance of the growth cycle. So what I should do is, when I started this, I guess this video maybe is about how or why this came to be for me, right? That I am an earthbound misfit. I recognized that in 2018, and I set out to figure out what the fuck was going on in my life, because it did not turn out how I had envisioned it, but it did. I got what I had manifested, but I had a lot of gaps. I had a lot of subconscious blocks that prevented me from recognizing that I was also bringing about a lot of struggle as well. But that was all to learn, right? So that's kind of part of the process. So the purpose of this is to explore time, and time doesn't seem to be a very specific absolute thing. We look at time as in specific intervals of time as humans, but we also seem to look at time as just a fluid, infinite, and just ongoing thing. And so when you say time, you're not really saying anything specific. You're just kind of giving a subject matter. And so it really matters what the projection of the other person thinks of as time. And so then we could go really down a really, really deep rabbit hole for the Gregorian calendar, and then really the Julian calendar. So there's some notes over here about that, and even back to Babylonian with the zodiac. And so I'm just kind of grounding this idea of what these earthbound misfits are experiencing time as. And so my intention is to be a master of the variations of time, because we have all of these different eras where people were coming up with their own version of what the calendar and the year should be. So whatever you think today is, that is just a collective agreement by a large segment of the world, but it is not an actual biological fact in any way. Okay, so then what I'm doing is I'm intending this revolution of time, this evolution of time. So I actually think what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave off there on this mind map. I'm just going to go back to talking about what I was going to talk about before, if I can remember what that was. And my cat. Did you just go to the bathroom? That's lovely. I'm so glad that it's very far away. Man, when we lived in the tiny house with 2 cats, middle-sized bus, it got very personal living in that environment. And now I'm in this environment that's very wide and expansive. The ceilings are as tall as our bus was long. And you can tell them by the cat's excitement that we have a long hallway for them to run around in. I mean, their life is so much better as well. Living in the tiny house did not entirely improve our quality of life or our sustainability. Living off-grid did not do that either. My cat is way happier. My husband and I are way happier living in this type of environment. But we're still trying to figure out how to still be sustainable and not support systems that are not actually good for the whole of the humanity, while recognizing that it's kind of a futile effort sometimes, or at least it feels like it, because someone will just throw a cigarette butt on the ground. That not everybody is recognizing the unity of all things. Okay, so back to my cycles of time. My belief is that it's all one thing. There is no other thing. It's all one thing. And beyond that one thing, it would imply that there is nothing. And in that nothing, there's probably another thing. So I don't know. It's beyond my human expanse of information. It doesn't really matter. But what matters is that I know it's all one thing. always. And so there's nothing that I could do that won't affect somebody else. Like, it's going to affect them. And I recognize what other people do is a wave, and it's going to affect me. And so what happens is I'm seeing like a wave, and I'm thinking like the future, right? Like your energy is a wave, and it's rippling out into the future, which is all space and time, right? It's a torus, this container that we live in of time, of this earthbound, universe that we live in. And so my imagination has said, align myself with the natural cycles the most natural cycles I could observe, which are still some sort of prison, like nature, seasons, whatever effect the moon has on us is a constraint of a limitation of some sort. And so, but they're like universal, like you can't escape that on earth necessarily. Like, I don't know. Point being, find the most natural aspect of time and relate and find a rhythm with that and observe that and compare it to my own experiences. So that's what I've been doing for 7 years. And that's what this is. That's what this sacred geometry, fruit of life, flower of life type of geometry that I've been playing with. This specific pattern people call the fruit of life. Why? I can't give you a specific answer to that. I don't know. But what it works for me is it works as containers. So I see each one of these as a sphere, not a circle, but it's a sphere. And I'm putting information in that sphere. And that sphere is a thought and it is a feeling. And so therefore it is a literal sound wave. So if I have not expressed that clearly, this is a sound wave on paper. It is a blueprint that you're taking the framework of the cycle of nature and the geometry of growth, and you're putting your thoughts and feelings in it with your meditation, your time and your energy, your brain and energy heart waves. So I feel like I've never been able to get this point across to people, because I think that if they got it, they would be like, oh yeah, I gotta do something like that. And you don't have to do my version of it, but just the understanding of writing and drawing, the implications that those self-reflections create in your life. And so I've just found a specific way to express that. So this is the solar cycle. This is 365 days. You can get this on quantummemoir.com. And that is the 365-day long-term goal. And it's a manifest. It's a whole entire year of doing these, and it includes these ones. This is the 7-day Earth cycle. This is a short-term goal. You can also download that. And then this is the 28-day goal. This is the lunar cycle mind map. And then if you want to get the experiment book that I created for myself and my husband, my family and friends, then this is available on Amazon along with the hardback version of that. You can get this, and this is the daily chronicle. So, okay, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit this video and make a social media post about it. I don't think I have anything else to share. Yeah, that's it.